I am not going to keep this long. I've been up very late and I'm dragging ass, but I had already queued this one up, so I want to get this one done before I call it a day. I am stunned um, by what is taking place in Pennsylvania. Look, if Republicans do something and people on the left or Democrats call foul, or just people of good conscience and honest people call foul on it for whatever particular reason, imagine ideally because it's running afoul, it doesn't make it better when you do it also. And I'm saying this because I remember all the hijinks Republicans used to do with the voting thing, shutting down polling locations, um, closing lines early, this interstate cross check, all of this stuff. You can use a gun card, but you couldn't necessarily use a student ID. And I used to be against all of that stuff. I hate those hijinks around voting. We all, as Americans, have a right to vote. And I don't want anybody scoring with that, whether that's a Democrat or, for that matter, whether it's a Republican, full stop. That's my take. If Democrats are doing something nefarious, they should stop. Just like if Republicans are doing something nefarious, they should stop. I mean, equal opportunity on this issue. I don't take a political point of view on it. I take an American point of view. You're an American. You have the legal right to vote. Whatever the rules are around the voting, I want them to be fulfilled. No more, no less. That is not what is taking place in Pennsylvania. And it seems like there's a bit of sour grapes associated with the Democratic Party's performance in this election. And those sour grapes are spilling out in Pennsylvania in the way they're going about that seat with Bob Casey. Bob Casey is apparently a three-time senator, won three times. He's running against a man named Dave McCormick. Dave McCormick is ahead by 27,000 votes. All right. The Supreme Court in Pennsylvania set certain rules around what votes are counted versus what votes aren't. And they did this before the November 5th election. So the rule set had been established. Whether you agree with the rule set or not, the rule set had been established. And this happened in a few counts. In one case, it was closing the polling location early, which again is just mind blowing. When the Trump team sued in order to open the polling location back up, Democrats howled and freaked out about it, missing the fact that they were wrong for closing it early. Now, again, if this was something that a Republican did to a Democrat, I would be out there screaming just as loud and just as cantankerous as I am now. It is outrageous. It's an American issue. It's not a political party issue. As an American, whether I'm a Republican or whether I'm a Democrat or whether I'm somewhere in between, I want your right to vote to be fulfilled. Full stop. There is no hedge or caveat on it. I don't care your political designation. It is disturbing to me that Democrats have stooped to this level. It genuinely is, especially considering when I was a Democrat, it was Republicans that did nonsense like this. And I know some Republicans would disagree with this. I'm just giving you my own point of view at the time when I was a Democrat, and I could see them doing stuff like this, hijinks around the vote. All right. So this took place, this hearing. Listen to what the woman says about allowing certain votes to go through and what she says about the law, meaning she is perfectly aware that the court has given a verdict. She knows it, not just knows it. She's going to articulate it here. But she's also going to say that she doesn't care what the court has said, that the rules, the laws don't really matter. And so, yeah, we're going to count as many votes as we want. And again, if it was a situation where Bob Casey was in the lead, I have a hard time believing she would be pushing this hard. It's the fact that he's about to lose his seat as a 3-time senator. And she's like, we're going to count every vote that is there, whether we are supposed to and allowed to or not. This is outrageous.
We reject all three categories of these ballots.
Your motion is to reject or dismiss the challenges in this category in front of you?
Correct, yep.
Not going to second that, mostly because I think we all know that precedent by a court doesn't matter anymore in this country, and people violate laws anytime they want. So for me, if I violate this law, it's because I want a court to pay attention to it.
Now, we got to make sure there's no cheating, and we're working hard on that.
When I violate this law, I want it to make sure that the court sees it. Meaning, she knows that the court has already decided that ballots that are missing certain bits of information are not read and they're not supposed to be regarded and not supposed to be counted. And they're like, I don't care that the courts have already decided that these aren't supposed to be counted. We're going to count them anyway. That's what we're going to do. Casey, 27,000 votes behind. Damn it. Maybe if God's willing, we will find those votes for Casey. That is outrageous. You know what you're doing is wrong, and you're doing it anyway. What the hell? What the hell? And then I read an opinion piece on this because I thought, okay, well, maybe I'm missing something. And the opinion piece strongly proclaimed to Yahoo News right here, no, Pennsylvania Democrats aren't trying to steal the Senate election. All right. And I read that piece. And at the end of that piece, I was more convinced that that's exactly what they were doing. Stealing the Pennsylvania election. Because the piece in no way gave any sort of defense for what the Democratic Party was doing, short of maybe a moral defense in the sense that every vote should be counted. But again, we don't function in an electoral system that functions that way. Even the Electoral College is a permutation over top of the popular vote, and we count that. And even when the person wins by the popular vote, they can still lose the presidential election. It just so happens this year, the same person that won the Electoral College is the same person that won the popular vote. We have had years where that wasn't true. Donald Trump the first time, George Bush also. I'm saying the fact that they know what they're doing is wrong makes this electoral fraud or voter fraud. They know full well that they're not supposed to be counting these various ballots, and they're counting them anyway. They are articulating that they know, meaning they are stating aloud, we know we aren't supposed to be doing this. And yet, we're doing it anyway. We are going to count ballots that are not supposed to be counted. That is literally voter fraud. That is literally voter fraud. And going through the article, it says the Senate race is headed to a recount, okay, after an incredibly narrow margin of victory. The difference between the top candidate, last week, former Republican hedge fund manager Dave McCormick was announced winner of Pennsylvania's Senate race with 48.9% of the vote and 99% reporting. His incumbent Democrat senator lost with 48.5%. So there's a 0.5% difference. Now, I take zero issue in Bob Casey doing everything in his power in the sense of a recount or anything like that. God bless. It is well within your right. Republicans have no right to complain about a recount. That is something that any particular candidate should and can do. Zero issue. All right, let's keep going. The two set a difference of only 29,000 votes on Wednesday, and statewide officials have estimated that nearly 80,000 votes remain outstanding. All right. Thursday, according to Philadelphia Inquirer, Casey, who is not yet conceded, meaning Casey hasn't given up. He's still saying, I may win this thing. He has remained hopeful that buried in the remaining 2% of state total ballots, that there's enough to make up the difference. and Pennsylvania Republican Secretary of State has already declared the initial results necessitate a recount. All right, so he's going to get his recount. Fair enough. The battle for the remaining votes has ignited longstanding issues between Republicans and Democrats in the state over what ballots are able to be counted. Democrats are pushing to count a number of contested provisional ballots that are missing signatures and privacy envelopes, and election board across the state are pushing to count a number of ballots. All right. Buck County Commissioner Diane Brazenly cast a vote Thursday to count certain deficient provisional ballots that were missing one of two required signatures and had previously been barred by court order. All right. So it is acknowledging. All right. The court has already barred this from being used, and it barred it from being used. And it barred it from being used in advance of the election. So all of them understood the rule set going into the election. It's also stating that they are counting those ones that the court has barred. So an article that is trying to say, no, Democrats aren't trying to steal the seat. It is admitting that the court has said you can't use these because it's missing certain information. And yet, Democrats are using those ones that are missing that information anyway. Okay, so what's the defense? So what's the defense? You've effectively agreed to the crime. Right here. I think we all know the precedent by court doesn't matter anymore in this country. You heard the clip. I played the clip for you. People violate laws anytime they want. So for me, if I violate this law, it's because I want the court to pay attention. There's nothing more important than counting votes. Well, yeah, it's nothing more important than counting votes because you're behind. Because you're behind. The technocrat Elon Musk shared a video of Marcellelli on X that they're openly trying to count illegal ballots in Pennsylvania. McCormick and his GOP allies went to court on Thursday to challenge the decisions of the commissioner in Philadelphia, Bucks, Montgomery, and County to include the mail-in ballot tallies. How are you writing an article saying they are not trying to steal the election when in the article you offer no defense and you admit that the court has already disallowed the ballots and that Democrats are trying to count or counting the ballots that the court has disallowed, and the commissioner has stated openly, I don't care what the court has said. We're going to count them anyway. You're counting illegal ballots by definition. Full stop. Now, I'm not saying that this is a great thing. Maybe they should have accepted the ballots. I'm just pointing out that it's already decided. And you're deciding to blow off the court in order to count them anyway. How is that not counting illegal ballots? And how is that not voter fraud when you know that you are committing fraud and you're doing so on purpose and you're stating it aloud in the open that that is exactly what you are doing? How weird is that? And how is that not illegal? What am I missing? What am I missing? Even an article that is trying to defend it, they admit to the crime. And listen to it again. Don't take my word for it. You can hear the commissioner effectively saying, I don't care.
We reject all three categories of these ballots.
Your motion is to reject or dismiss the challenges in this category in front of you?
Correct, yep.
Not going to second that, mostly because I think we all know that precedent by a court doesn't matter anymore in this country, and people violate laws anytime they want. So for me, if I violate this law, it's because I want a court to pay attention.
Enough said. You heard it from her mouth. I'm just pointing out that whether a Democrat is doing this or a Republican is doing this, this is problematic. If my candidate was up and I beat your candidate and the race was called, and you are deciding to count ballots that are deemed illegitimate, I am going to have a big issue with that, especially since it was already decided. Just like if roles were reversed and your candidate was up, and I decide that I want to count ballots that I know the court has already said don't apply. How is this okay? And how is anyone backing this? I'll leave it. This video wasn't meant to be long. I'm amazed by that they're pulling this off and that they're actually stating openly, we are breaking the law. We're committing voter fraud. And I want someone to recognize the fact that I'm committing voter fraud. Okay, fair enough. I've recognized the fact that you're committing voter fraud. And the notion that your people are writing articles saying, no, they're not trying to steal it at all. As everything in the article articulates that that's exactly what they're trying to do. Like, share, and subscribe. You're missing the DOJ, Jamal. What do you mean DOJ? Jamal, we have the DOJ that did not prosecute Matt Gaetz for how many years? I covered that story last night, by the way, the Matt Gaetz thing. Now, the question becomes, why didn't they prosecute Matt Gaetz? Because they did prosecute his friend. They put his friend in jail for, 11 years? And Matt Gaetz clearly was a bit of a pervert. But for whatever reason, they didn't prosecute. All of that stuff is going to come up in the ethics hearing when he goes in front of Congress in order to be confirmed as Attorney General. That's assuming he can even be confirmed. So, all right, but look, I'm going to say like, I'm going to say share, and I am going to say subscribe. You guys have a fantastic day. I am going to get some rest. Bye-bye.